Hello everyone, this is Praveen Kumar, lecturer, Government Polytechnic, Kartiki. I am here to have a session on this unit 6th of mechanical measurements. So in the previous units, you already would have learnt about different parts of the mechanical measurements. That is, you would have learnt about different measuring instruments, transducers and strain gauges, measurement of force, torque and pressure, and also applied mechanical measurements. Also, you would have learned about miscellaneous measurements, that is humidity measurements, hygrometers, etc. And in this particular unit, you will be learning about limits, fits, tolerances and testing of geometric dimensions. And as a part of this, in the first session, you will be learning about different introduction of the particular session, and also we will have a discussion on interchangeability and selective assembly. So first we will have the introduction of what exactly is limits and fits, right? So as we know, in nature, two extremely similar things are very difficult to obtain. If at all we come across exactly similar things, it must be only by chance. This fact holds good for production of component parts in engineering also. No production process is good enough to produce all items of products exactly alike. Every production process involves a combination of three elements, that is, men, machines and materials. Each of these elements has some inherent or natural variations as well as some unnatural variations. The natural variations are due to chance of causes which are difficult to trace and control. The unnatural variations are due to assignable cause which can be easily traced, controlled and reduced to economic minimum. These variables results in variation of size of castings. For example, suppose a drilling machine is to be performed on a casting. The first source of variation is material itself. That is, some castings may be harder than others. Some of them may have blowholes, cracks, etc. If the operations are done on a mass production by number of workers on different machines, the second source of variation is the machine. The condition of machine may differ. The third source of variation is man. In almost all variable, all of them are. There will be differences in skill, experience of the workers during the same job. The same person may act in different ways in different psychological conditions and adds to variability in quality characteristics of the product. If the process is under control, that is, the assignable causes of the variations are controlled or eliminated, the variations in size of similar components will be within the reasonable limits. Generally, in engineering, the article manufactured consists of assembly of number of components. Thus, a component manufactured is required to fit or match with some other mating component. The correct and prolonged functioning of the most manufactured articles depends on the correct size relationship between the various components of the assembly. This means that the component parts must fit in a certain desired way. That is, for example, if a shaft is to rotate in a hole, there must be enough clearance between the shaft and the hole to allow an oil film to be maintained for lubrication. Similarly, if the shaft is to be held tightly in the hole, there must be enough degree of tightness between them to ensure the forces of elastic compression grip them tightly and do not allow any relevant movement between them. However, interference must not be excessive, as it may result in splitting of component containing the hole. Ideally, any such condition could be obtained by specifying a definite size for the hole and for the shaft, but unfortunately, this is not possible due to inevitable inaccuracy of the manufacturing methods. Thus, as a part of the introduction, we will conclude it is not possible to make any part precisely to a given dimension due to variability of the elements of production processes. Secondly, If by chance the part is made exactly to a given dimension, it is impossible to measure it accurately enough to prove it. Thirdly, if attempts are to be made to achieve the perfect size, the cost of production will increase tremendously. It is therefore obvious that some permissible variations in dimension has to be followed to account for the variability. Next, as a part of this session, we will be learning about interchangeability and selective assembly. So we will know what is interchangeability. Interchangeability occurs when one part in an assembly can be substituted for a similar part which has been made to the same drawing. Interchangeability is possible only when certain standards are strictly followed. Now we will have what exactly is limits and fits. Okay. So first we'll know what is limits. Every manufacturing process is a combination of three elements: man, materials and machine. A change in any one or all of these will result in changes in sizes of manufactured parts. In mass production, where large number of parts are to be manufactured by different operators on different machines, it is impossible to make all parts exactly alike and to exact dimensions. The difference in dimension does exist because of these variables. Also, perfect size is not only difficult but a very costly affair. It is therefore obvious that some permissible variations in dimension has to be followed to account for variability. The dimension of the manufactured part that can thus only be made to lie between two limits: maximum limit and minimum limit. Therefore, the ranges of permissible difference in dimension have been standardized under the name limits. The limits of size of a dimension of a part are two extreme permissible sizes between which the actual size of the dimension may lie. They are fixed with reference to the basic size of that dimension. The high limit of that dimension is the largest size permitted, and low limit is the smallest size permitted for that dimension. Thus, as we know, it is very impossible to achieve the exact size, and also limits is it is to establish boundaries within which deviation from perfect form is allowed, but still the design intent is fulfilled. And also it enables interchangeability of the components during assembly. Now we'll know what is interchangeability and selective assembly. Interchangeability occurs when one part in an assembly can be substituted for a similar part which has been made to the same drawing. Interchangeability is possible only when certain standards are strictly followed. Okay. So now there are different types of interchangeability. They are as follows. One is universal interchangeability, and the second one is local interchangeability. Universal interchangeability means the parts are to be assembled are from two different manufacturing sources. Local interchangeability means all the parts that are to be assembled are made in same manufacturing unit. That is, if the parts made from different manufacturing units, if they are used for assembling, they are called universal interchangeable parts. But if the parts are made in the same manufacturing unit that are used for assembly, they are called local interchangeable parts. Now we will know some of the uses of interchangeability. Before we know the uses of interchangeability, we will have another discussion, one more round of discussion on interchangeability. When a large number of components are to be produced, then it will not be economical to produce both mating components by the same operator. In addition to the economy, it is also essential to produce the components within the minimum possible time. This is only possible by mass production. In mass production system, there is a division of labor. The components are produced in one or more batches by different operators on different machines. Under such conditions, in order to assemble the mating components with a desired fit, strict control is exercised and the parts manufactured are with specified tolerance limits. When a system of this kind is used, any one component selected at random will assemble correctly with any other mating component, that too selected at random. This system is called interchangeable assembly. The manufacture of components under such conditions is called interchangeable manufacture. Production on an interchangeable basis results in increased output with a corresponding reduction in manufacturing cost. Right? And also we'll discuss some of the advantages of interchangeability. The first advantage is the operator is not required to waste his skill in fitting the mating components by trial and error, and thus assembly time is reduced considerably. There is an increased output with reduced production costs. Right? There is a division of labor. The operator has to perform same limited operations again and again. Thus, he becomes specialized in that particular work, which helps to improve quality and reduce the time for operations. Also, it facilitates the production of mating components at different places by different operators. The replacement of worn out or defective parts and repair becomes very easy. Finally, the cost of maintenance and shutdown period is reduced to the minimum. So these are all some of the advantages of interchangeability. Now we'll have a look on uses of interchangeability. Okay, I would say if we have seen, for example, the cars, computers, furniture, and almost all products used today are made from interchangeable parts. Interchangeability of parts also allows products to be repaired by replacing a broken part with an identical new part. See, these are all some of the advantages of interchangeability. Also, as mentioned in the system, interchangeability uses are interchangeable parts are that parts which are practical purpose identical. They are made to specifications that ensure that they are so nearly identical that they fit into any assembly of the same type. One such part can freely replace another without any custom fitting such as filing. Now we have learned about interchangeability, uses of interchangeability, and also some of the advantages of interchangeability. Now we will discuss on another type of mating parts, that is selective assembly. As we know, there are three ways of mating parts, that is trial and error method, interchangeable assembly, and selective assembly. Before we get into the selective assembly, we will just discuss what is a trial and error method. When a small number of similar assemblies are to be made with the same operator, the necessary fit can be obtained by trial and error. This technique simply requires one part to be made to its nominal size as accurately as possible. The other part is then machined with a small amount at a time by trial and error until they fit in the required manner. This method may be used for on-off jobs, tool room work, etc., where both parts will be replaced at once. So this is trial and error method. So now we'll move on. We have already discussed about interchangeable assembly, and now we'll move on to selective assembly. So selective assembly, it is sometimes found that it is not economical to manufacture parts to the required high degree of accuracy so as to make them interchangeable. The consumer not only wants quality and precision trouble-free products, but also he wants them at an economical price. Often special cases of accuracy and uniformity arise which might not be satisfied by certainty at the fits given under fully interchangeable system. For example, if a part its low limit is assembled with the mating part at high limit, the fit is to be fit so obtained may not be fully satisfy the functional requirements of the assembly. Complete interchangeability in the above cases can be obtained at some extra cost in inspection and material handling by using selective assembly, where parts manufactured to rather wider tolerances. In selective assembly, the components produced are classified into groups according to their sizes by automatic gauging. This is done for both mating parts, holes and shafts, and only matched products of the mating parts are assembled. It results in complete protection against the defective assemblies and reduces matching cost, since parts may be produced at wider tolerances. Right? Okay? And selective assembly is a cost-effective approach for reducing the overall variation and thus improving the quality of an assembled product. In this process, components of a mating pair are measured and grouped into several cases as they are manufactured. One of the simplest examples used to demonstrate selective assembly is the aggregation of shaft and sleeve parts. In this example, the critical dimension for aggregation are isolated. Now we will discuss some of the advantages of selective assembly. Selective assembly is fair, clear and low cost method in manufacturing. It increases the efficiency, it gives high quality of assembly, its cost of manufacturing, it reduces the cost of manufacturing, scrap rate in manufacturing reduces by this method. It also reduces the machining cost and increases the efficiency of fit without reducing the tolerance zone. Okay. Now we will discuss some of the differences between interchangeability and selective assembly. Interchangeability: when one component gets assembled with the other one while both are selected randomly and also satisfy the functionality of that assembly. Thus it is known as interchangeability. Due to this, assembling cost decreases, production rate increases. Whereas in selective assembly, there are cases in which accuracy and uniformity is the prime importance. All parts produced are graded into groups and in the range of dimensions which are within the tolerance limits. Like we need assembly which requires certain amount of clearance in that, like 16 mm, then we can group the component in such a way that the clearance remains 16 mm, also the functionality of the assembly don't get affected. So thus we are coming to an end of this particular session. In this session we have learned about a brief introduction on what is limits, and also we have learned what is interchangeability and selective assembly, and we also learned about uses of interchangeability, also advantages of interchangeability, and also we have learned about selective assembly, uses of selective assembly and advantages of selective assembly. Also we have learned about differences between interchangeability and selective assembly. So in this session you have learned, I hope that you have learned everything. Okay. So some of the MCQs will be given at the end of the session after the session is completed. We will be learning different parts of this particular unit in the coming sessions. Thank you.